Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing another Star Wars Black Series figure review. Today we've got the Phase 1 Clonetrooper from the new wave, so let's jump into it. What's going to come in box? So with this Clonetrooper you are going to get the standard blaster there, and you're going to get that blaster as well. Now, one thing I'm going to point out is that although this blaster always in the Clone Wars and in the prequels and that sort of stuff always seemed so ridiculously big for the size of the people carrying it, he actually holds this blaster way more naturally and convincingly than he does the smaller one. Unlike the Stormtroopers who have the kind of build built for that hip fire look, the problem with these Clonetroopers is their bodies are a little bit thinner, they're not as kind of bulky. So his reach to get his kind of wrist and elbows, around aren't as good as the Stormtrooper is. So I mean, when it comes to, it's more than enough. It's more than fine in terms of would you really notice it being egregious? No. It's quite finicky though, trying to get an angle, because obviously where the trigger finger is, you need to get that kind of through the loop and have the rifle pointing in a direction that you would actually fire from, and then you've got to get this wrist across, and obviously you have to kind of force the arms into the middle so that they kind of hold that blaster together, and it will go, and you can move the hips around and kind of make it easier. But as you can kind of see here, it's a little bit less natural than the Stormtrooper builds are at holding the rifle like that. You can kind of bring it across and do a very specific angle, but in terms of like being able to really wiggle that across his body, you haven't got as much. I mean, you can kind of twist the hips, but it kind of looks unnatural. And obviously with these clone builds, they have upgraded the build slightly. I mean, the knee pads aren't blue, or that light shade of blue on the on the old ones that they were. They're actually white on white now, which is much better. The build is a little bit, it's a little bit upgraded. Like, we have the blank clone head, just like the Stormtroopers, so you have a better head shape. It looks more sized to have a head in there, whilst making it look like the helmet isn't paper thin. And then obviously as well with the articulation, just in general, they've upgraded just a little bit, but unfortunately, I mean, you get kind of okay toe point, just past 90 knee, just like the Stormtrooper. With the legs, unfortunately, coming up, you have to kind of twist out and down, so you can't really get this kind of knee forward like that. You see the knee pad comes round, and the knee pad is loose so that you can move it where you need to slightly, but it kind of just doesn't feel as natural. And again, the clones are very poseable if you really get in there and wiggle them around and really bend the joints and things like that. But unfortunately, because of the way they've kind of used the sculpt, it just kind of looks a little bit unnatural sometimes. Again, poseable enough for for displays, or considering some of the older builds how poor the articulation was. This is fine. I just find that the Clonetrooper, in comparison to the Stormtrooper, just doesn't have the same the kind of same articulation. It just feels clunkier as well. Obviously, I love the clones, and I love the Phase 1 clones because obviously they're such a versatile character. But to be honest, I really want them to bring out these these Phase 2 clones. And although we have like the Ahsoka clones and the Commanders and stuff like that, which is great, I do want to get kind of just the normal shiny Phase 2s, or even some weathered battle damaged Phase 2s that are just from either the 501st or a normal kind of battalion that's unmarked. That's fine. But as you can see, kind of like the bigger rifle, he holds a lot more naturally, just because of the reach of this arm has to come out further. So in terms of, you know, using the rifle, the blaster rifles that come with it, honestly the bigger rifle does work better in my opinion, in terms of the look and the sort of kind of naturalness in his hands there, as you can see. And obviously there's so many different places he can grip the blaster, so you can kind of play around a lot more with that than you can on the smaller blaster. Carrying on with the figure though, I mean, the paint application is, you know, it's pretty good. It's black and white, so a lot of the shapes that are detailed, it's just they've used a mold to get those, but they're pretty good. They look, you know, they look fantastic, with the, you know, the belt accessories and all that sort of stuff, and the helmet like, you know, helmet details, that sort of thing. Not much paint application because a lot of it's mold, but I mean, even in the helmet, most of it is pretty on point. Not really any bleeding, at least on this figure. In terms of the overall look, I mean, you can't go wrong. It's like a Stormtrooper. You know, you've got to have a few clones if you've got prequel figures in your collection. And yeah, I mean, the versatility of this figure is just like a Stormtrooper. You can put it in so many scenes, with battle droids, against Sith, even against Jedi. You know, you can, if you ignore the kind of phase 1 kind of deal, you can create all sorts of things, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. In terms of the articulation in general, I mean, it's pretty good. The waist isn't as good as the Stormtrooper. Head, again, just not as good as the Stormtrooper for some reason. That's down as much as you get, up as much as you get, and it doesn't have, you know, the chicken head kind of move. It doesn't have as positive a effect on the head articulation like the Stormtrooper. He will go 360, which is something. And then again, the arms, the pauldrons are actually on the clones attached on the arm, but they're like this rubbery material, you can kind of see, and so it means that they can go up just past 90 and they go up over the top of the armor, which again you can rotate forward and back, so it works. I think that the pauldron design on the new Stormtroopers though is kind of the way to go. I think it's more effective and looks more natural as well as giving you some good articulation. So in terms of my overall thoughts of the clone, I do really like the figure, and I've got 4 all told, just so that I could have, you know, some squad shots and some really busy scenes with multiple fights going on, that sort of thing. And you know, I mean, in terms of versatility, like I said, you can do so much with it, so you can't be too picky. I will be giving this figure a 7 overall. It is an awesome figure. I love the clones. Again, applications for paint is fine. There's not much for them to get wrong. You know, there's not much for them to get wrong. In terms of the look, looks fantastic, because you know, it's a clone trooper. Articulation, it's fair, but I'm left wanting a little bit more from it. You know, it's going to do the job I want it to do if I'm not too particular, or if I've got time, you know, time to pose. It's got a good presence, but I mean, in terms of, you know, posability, as much as it will get into a lot of dynamic poses, you really need to kind of fight with the figure sometimes, and sometimes that time-consuming nature is a little bit annoying. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this review video of the Star Wars The Black Series Phase 1 Clone Trooper. There is plenty more review videos and other videos coming on the channel soon, so subscribe and like if you are new, and I will see you in the next one.